Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to my channel, Fluent Pro Hub. Welcome to Fluent Pro Hub, the podcast that helps you speak English with confidence. I'm Sophia, your host, and with me is my co-host, Ethan.
Hey everyone. If you understand English but struggle to speak, this episode is just for you.
We know, it's frustrating. You can read, you can listen, but when it's time to speak, your mind goes blank.
Why does this happen? Is it confidence, thinking in your native language, or something else?
Don't worry, we've got you. Today we're breaking it all down, problem by problem, and giving you real practical solutions that actually work.
And trust me, by the end of this episode, you'll know exactly what's stopping you and how to fix it.
All right, let's do this. Get ready to unlock your English speaking confidence. All right, let's talk about the first big problem, lack of confidence. This is something that stops so many learners from speaking English, even when they understand it perfectly.
Yeah, and it's so common. People know what they want to say, but when it's time to speak, they freeze. Their mind goes blank, their heart starts racing, and they just can't do it.
And the worst part? The more this happens, the more you start believing that you just can't speak English. It becomes a cycle.
But why does this happen? Let's break it down.
First, there's the fear of making mistakes. People think, what if I say something wrong? What if people laugh at me? This fear paralyzes them.
Exactly. And then there's the fear of being judged. If you've ever had someone correct you in a rude way, it sticks with you. You start avoiding English because you don't want to feel embarrassed again.
And let's be honest, many learners just don't practice speaking enough. They focus on grammar, vocabulary, listening. But when do they actually speak? Hardly ever.
And confidence doesn't come from knowing English. It comes from using English. You can read all the grammar books in the world, but if you never speak, you'll never feel comfortable.
But don't worry, we're going to help you fix this. And trust me, if you follow these steps, your confidence will skyrocket.
Okay, step 1. Accept that mistakes are normal.
Yes, listen, even native English speakers make mistakes. They mix up words, they forget things. It's completely normal.
So instead of thinking, I must speak perfectly, say to yourself, I'm learning, and every mistake helps me improve.
Let's say you accidentally say, he go to work instead of he goes to work. What should you do? Panic? Stop speaking? No, just correct yourself and keep going.
Trust me, nobody cares as much as you think. Most people will still understand you.
Step 2. Start with simple conversations.
A lot of learners try to speak perfect, complicated English right away. But that's like trying to lift 100 kilos on your first day at the gym. You'll fail, and you'll feel discouraged.
Exactly. Instead, start small. Practice with easy, everyday sentences like, Hi, how are you? I need a cup of coffee. This movie is great.
When you get comfortable with small sentences, you'll naturally start building longer ones.
And here's a trick. Talk to yourself in English. Describe what you're doing.
Like if you're making tea, say, I am boiling water. Now I'm adding tea leaves.
It might feel weird at first, but it really works. Your brain will get used to forming sentences quickly.
And the more you practice, the less you'll hesitate. That hesitation is what kills confidence, so we need to remove it.
So, here's the challenge for today. Speak in English for just 5 minutes. It can be with a friend, a family member, or even alone in front of a mirror.
And don't worry about mistakes. Just speak, even if it's broken, even if it's slow. Just do it.
And trust me, once you start, you'll realize, hey, this isn't so bad.
All right, that's the first problem solved. Lack of confidence, gone. Now let's move on to the next big problem, thinking in your native language.
Oh, this one is a big issue. But don't worry, we have solutions for that too.
Stay tuned, because we're about to reprogram your brain to think in English.
All right, let's move on to the next big issue, thinking in your native language. This is something that stops so many people from speaking fluently.
Yeah, and honestly, this is a habit most learners don't even realize they have. They translate every sentence in their mind before speaking, and by the time they're ready to say something, the conversation has already moved on.
Exactly. Imagine this. You're in a cafe and the waiter asks, "What would you like?" Your brain immediately translates the question into your native language. Then you think of the answer in your native language, translate it back into English, and by the time you're ready to speak, you're stuck.
And that's why your speech becomes slow, unnatural, and stressful. Because instead of speaking directly in English, your brain is doing extra work.
But here's the truth. Fluency means thinking in English. The moment you stop translating, your English will become much faster and more natural.
And don't worry, we're going to show you exactly how to train your brain to think in English. Let's go.
All right, first step, start with simple words and phrases.
Right now, your brain is used to thinking in your native language because that's how you've always spoken. So let's train it to think in English, step by step.
For example, instead of thinking, "the weather is nice" in your language and then translating it, just think it directly in English.
Yes, and you can do this with everything around you.
Look around you right now. What do you see? A table? A phone? A book? Instead of thinking of these words in your native language, say them in English.
This is the first step. The more your brain gets used to seeing things directly in English, the less you'll translate.
Step 2. Start speaking in short English sentences in your daily life.
Let's say you're getting ready in the morning. Instead of thinking, I need to brush my teeth in your native language and then translating, just say it in English from the start.
The more you do this, the faster your brain will start processing in English. It's like training a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets.
Step 3. Stop focusing on grammar while speaking.
Now, don't get me wrong. Grammar is important. But when you're speaking, if you think too much about rules, you'll slow down.
Imagine someone asks you, what did you do yesterday? And you start thinking, wait, should I use past tense? Should I say go or went? By the time you figure it out, the conversation is over.
That's why the trick is, focus on communication first. Even if your sentence isn't perfect, just speak.
Yes, fluency is about flow. Once you're comfortable speaking, you can improve grammar naturally over time.
Step 4. Surround yourself with English.
If you're always listening, reading, and thinking in your native language, then obviously your brain will default to that language. So you need to make English a part of your daily life.
Here's how you can do that. Watch English movies and series without subtitles if possible. Listen to English podcasts and audiobooks. Read English books, blogs, and news. Write your daily thoughts in English.
The more you expose your brain to English, the more natural it will feel to think in English.
And trust me, when you start thinking in English, you'll see a huge difference in your fluency.
So let's do a quick recap. Think in simple English words first. Use English in daily activities. Stop worrying about grammar while speaking. Surround yourself with English content.
Do this every day, and soon, English will become automatic. No more translating, no more hesitation, just smooth, confident speaking.
All right, that's problem 2 solved. Now let's move on to the next big issue. Not knowing the right words while speaking.
Oh, this is a big one. What happens when you forget a word in the middle of a conversation?
Stay tuned, because we're about to teach you how to never get stuck in the middle of a sentence.
All right, let's talk about a problem that every English learner faces, not knowing the right words while speaking.
Yeah, have you ever been in a situation where you're speaking English and suddenly you forget a word or you just don't know how to say something, and then you freeze, your confidence drops, and you start panicking?
You're like, uh, um, you know, that thing, and the person you're talking to is just waiting, confused.
And this is exactly why so many people feel nervous while speaking, because they're scared they'll run out of words.
But listen, this is totally normal. Even native speakers sometimes forget words. The real problem isn't not knowing enough words. The problem is not knowing how to handle it.
And that's what we're going to fix right now. We'll teach you how to never get stuck in the middle of a conversation again.
All right, first here's a simple but powerful trick. Describe the word instead of stopping.
Let's say you want to say the word refrigerator, but you forget it. Instead of stopping, you can say the cold machine where we keep food fresh. Boom! The other person will understand.
Yes, this is exactly what native speakers do. They don't stop. They find another way to explain it.
Imagine you forgot the word umbrella. Just say, the thing we use when it rains.
And guess what? The moment you do this, your brain will stay active and confident instead of freezing in panic.
Next tip, use simpler words instead of complicated ones.
Many learners think they need big, fancy words to sound fluent. But real fluency is about speaking smoothly, not perfectly.
Let's say you don't remember the word exhausted. Just say, I'm really, really tired.
Yes, or instead of delicious, just say, this food is really good. No need to stress over perfect vocabulary.
The key is keep speaking. Even if you don't know the perfect word, use the words you do know.
Now, here's a fun way to improve your vocabulary. Learn words in context.
Most people try to memorize long vocabulary lists, but that doesn't work. Because when you learn words without context, your brain forgets them fast.
Instead, learn words in real situations. For example, if you learn the word delicious, don't just memorize it. Use it. Next time you eat something tasty, say, wow, this is delicious.
The more you use a word in real life, the stronger it stays in your memory.
And finally, listen more, read more, and speak more.
Think about it. How do babies learn words? Do they memorize lists? No, they just listen to their parents speaking every day. And slowly their brain absorbs the language.
You can do the same. The more you listen to English podcasts, watch English shows, and read English books, the more new words you'll pick up, naturally.
And remember, fluency is not about knowing every single word. It's about speaking confidently with the words you already know.
So let's recap. Describe words instead of stopping. Use simpler words if you forget the difficult ones. Learn words in context, not by memorizing lists. Expose yourself to more English through listening and reading.
Do this and you'll never feel stuck in a conversation again.
But wait, there's still one big problem left. What if you're afraid of making mistakes while speaking? What if you feel nervous, even when you know what to say?
Oh, this is a huge one. Let's talk about how to overcome the fear of making mistakes coming up next.
All right, let's talk about something that stops so many people from speaking English: the fear of making mistakes.
Yeah. Have you ever wanted to say something in English, but then you stopped yourself because you thought, what if I make a mistake? What if people laugh at me? What if I sound stupid?
And then, instead of speaking, you just stay silent. And later, you regret it, thinking, I should have just spoken. Who cares about mistakes? But the cycle continues.
Listen, this fear is the real reason many people don't improve in English. Not grammar, not vocabulary, fear.
But today, we're going to break this fear. We'll show you how to stop worrying about mistakes and start speaking English with confidence.
First, understand this: mistakes are a good thing. They are not something to be ashamed of.
Think about babies. When a baby learns to walk, do they just stand up and start walking perfectly? No, they fall hundreds of times. But do they stop trying? No, they keep going, and that's how they learn.
The same rule applies to English. If you're too afraid to make mistakes, you'll never improve. But if you make mistakes and learn from them, you will get better. Fast.
Now here's an important question. Who are you afraid of?
Many people are scared of speaking because they think others will judge them. But let's be honest, most people don't care.
Yes, think about it. When someone speaks broken English, do you laugh at them? No, right? You probably respect them for trying. So why do you think others will judge you?
And even if someone does laugh at your English, who cares? That's their problem, not yours.
Remember, fluent speakers were once beginners too. They made mistakes, but they kept going. And that's exactly what you need to do.
Here's another trick. Focus on communication, not perfection.
Let's say you're ordering food in a restaurant, and instead of saying, I would like to order a sandwich, you say, I want sandwich. Guess what? The waiter still understands you. You communicated your message, and that's what matters.
Yes, your goal is not to speak like a professor. Your goal is to express yourself and be understood. That's it.
Now let's talk about a secret trick. Expose yourself to discomfort.
Wait, what do you mean by that?
I mean, put yourself in situations where you have to speak English. The more uncomfortable you feel, the more you grow.
Yes, talk to a stranger in English. Join an English-speaking group. Try answering questions in English at work or school. The first few times will be scary, but then it will feel normal.
And that's the key. Get comfortable being uncomfortable, because when you face your fear, it loses its power over you.
So let's recap. Mistakes help you learn. Don't be afraid of them. Most people don't care about your mistakes, so just speak. Focus on communication, not perfection. Put yourself in situations where you have to speak English.
If you follow these steps, your fear of making mistakes will disappear, and soon you'll be speaking English without hesitation.
But wait, there's still one more problem we need to fix. What if you can speak, but you struggle to keep a conversation going?
Oh, that's a big one. Let's talk about how to keep a conversation flowing, coming up next. All right, so imagine this. You finally gather the courage to start a conversation in English. You say, "Hey, how are you?" The other person replies, "I'm good, thanks. How about you?" And then your mind goes blank. You don't know what to say next. You panic. The conversation dies. Awkward silence.
Oh, this is so common. You start a conversation, but after a few sentences, you don't know how to keep it going. So either you stay silent or you just say, "Okay, bye," and walk away.
And later you feel frustrated, thinking, why couldn't I continue the conversation? Why do I always run out of things to say?
If this happens to you, don't worry. We've got the solution. Today we'll teach you how to keep a conversation going smoothly, even if you're not fluent yet.
First things first, don't just give short answers, give something extra.
For example, if someone asks thee, "What do you do?" Don't just say, "I'm a student." Instead, say, "I'm a student. I study computer science. I really enjoy coding." Now the other person has more to ask, like, "Oh, what kind of coding do you do?" Boom, conversation continues.
Yes, always give details in your answers. This makes it easier for the other person to keep talking with you.
Now here's another trick. Ask open-ended questions.
Okay, what's an open-ended question?
A question that needs more than just a yes or no answer.
For example, instead of asking, "Do you like traveling?" the answer could be just yes or no. Ask, "Where is the best place you have ever traveled to?" Now, they have to give a longer answer.
And that keeps the conversation going.
Now here's a big one. Listen carefully and respond with follow-up questions.
Many people think they don't know what to say, but actually they just don't listen properly. If you really listen, you will always find something to ask.
For example, imagine someone says, "I went to Italy last summer. It was amazing." Now, instead of just saying, "Oh, cool," you can ask, "Wow, what did you love most about Italy?" Or, "Did you try any delicious Italian food?" Now, the conversation keeps going.
It's simple. Listen, pick a detail and ask about it.
Another easy way to keep a conversation flowing? Share your own experience.
Let's say someone tells you, "I love watching movies." Instead of just saying, "Me too," add something extra like, "Me too. I recently watched a really good action movie." Do you like action movies?
This way, you're not just ending the conversation, you're giving them something to respond to.
So let's summarize. Give longer answers. Don't just say yes or no. Ask open-ended questions. Listen carefully and ask follow-up questions. Share your own experiences to keep the conversation flowing.
If you use these techniques, I promise, you'll never struggle with dead conversations again.
And soon you'll be having long, smooth conversations in English without any awkward silences.
Thanks for listening to Fluent Pro Hub. We'll see you in the next episode. Keep practicing, keep improving.
See you next time, guys, and remember, fluency is a journey,